Hey, welcome back to Everyday Economics. This is the podcast that should learn about the economic world happening around you every day. I'm your host, Chris Krug, publisher of the Center Square Newswire. Everyday Economics is brought to you by the Center Square. To support Everyday Economics, please make a tax-deductible charitable contribution. You can do that by clicking the link in the show description. We are recording this episode on Monday, December 8th, 2025, and joining me as always, my friend and colleague, and probably the person who I communicate with the most on volume via text during the week. It's Dr. Orphe Divounguy, PhD economist.
I bug you all the time, Chris. I really do.
You don't bug me.
Realize that I bug you a lot. You
don't bug me forever, or you don't ever bug me, I should say.
I do gain a lot from our conversations, which is just wonderful, and it just shows up on the podcast.
Well, that's very nice of you to say. I come to you, sir, for answers, in particular for this show. So I was thinking, it's like, one of the things in real life that you've got going on right now is that you've been looking to buy another car, and the car market is kind of tricky for those people that have been paying attention. If you've needed a car or wanted a car in the last 5 years, it's been kind of a roller coaster. There were problems with chip manufacturing. I think, a lot of fingers pointed to that one particular chip manufacturing plant in Taiwan that sort of mysteriously caught on fire and burned to the ground. I'm not laughing because it's not funny, but just the timing of it couldn't have been any worse for anyone. We're in the midst of COVID, and all of a sudden, a major chip manufacturing plant just happens to burn down. Since then, a lot of manufacturers had a hard time getting chips, and therefore had a lot of difficulty around COVID rules completing cars. So there became a pretty tough demand versus supply scenario in which the supply of new cars was way down. Prices went absolutely bananas.
Oh yeah.
I mean, in my lifetime, I've never seen car prices as volatile.
No, to give you some numbers here, in April 2022, the price of a new car in the U.S. was up 13% on a year-over-year basis,
which is absolutely crazy. And I can tell you, just anecdotally, in 2018, I treated myself, and I bought myself a Dodge Challenger, because when it comes right down to it, I am from Western Pennsylvania, and that's about as cool as it gets for us, And I didn't have an opportunity to drive it too terribly much. I held it for just about 3 years, and I just decided, this has been a lot of fun, but I'm going to sell it. And I sold that car for $7,000 more than I paid for it.
You know why? Because used car prices in July 2021,
which is when I sold my car, July 4th.
Yes, look at that. They were up 42% on a year-over-year basis. 42%.
I may have made a unicorn transaction in that scenario.
Unbelievable.
But so here we are, in the winter, or approaching the winter of 2025. I mean, it's December 8th as we tape this, and you're out there and you're looking for something kind of specific, and it has, I would say, a somewhat limited marketplace, right?
That's right. You might even consider it kind of a luxury good, and so it makes it very, very tough. Like if you talk about the car market altogether. Consumers have been pulling back, right? And
yes.
So new car prices have been flat. They're like up 0.8% on a year-over-year basis. You have a lot of cars just sitting on these dealer lots that are just they're not going anywhere.
I saw to that fact. I saw a segment by a father and son creator team. I believe I watched it on YouTube, but it may have been on Facebook Reels or X or somewhere else like that. And they were talking about a particular Ford F-250 truck, and the truck has been on the dealer's lot for 350 days.
Yeah,
and with the amount of interest that they're responsible for, this particular dealership, they were sitting at somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think it was $6,000 in interest payments to cover the cost of having that car in their inventory. And so obviously they're eager to sell it. They're at this point in time, it's they need to move it. Now, whereas, in the height of the pandemic car shortage, cars were going with addendum stickers in some cases that were almost 2 times the cost of the base of the car, with add-ons and thises and that's and so-called market adjustments. This car was being offered somewhere in the neighborhood, I think, of $15,000 below MSRP. That the dealer owned this car at this point, and they needed to get rid of it. But if you are in a situation where you're really wrestling, with the idea of a major purchase, and cars have become, simply because of what comes with them, I mean, they're almost all a luxury purchase. They're a necessity for most Americans, but they are a luxury purchase simply because of the cost. What's the best way to think about it in terms of your own personal economics and your own personal situation?
I say you have the most bargaining power than you've had in a long time, and so you go into that dealership, and you have to basically, you tell them exactly what you need, what you want to pay, right? And you have to be reasonable, and you have to be prepared, and you have to know exactly what you're talking about, right? And I find that when you do that, they're more and more willing to bring the car down, right? To bring the price down, and you also have to be willing to walk away. I think a lot of people forget that that basically the most important thing, you have more bargaining power, which means there are more cars out there sitting on lots, and so you got to give them a price, and then you have to be able and willing to walk away, right? Completely. I texted the dealer last week, and I told him what I knew about the car I wanted, and I told him exactly what I wanted to pay. And I said, if you can meet me there, call me. If not, well, see you later. And what they did is they said, well, now it's too low, And I said, well, I want you to make money. I'm happy for you to make money. The marketplace works well when the buyer and seller are happy. Ultimately, that's when a transaction takes place. And so I said, hey, I really want you to do well. I think your car is a little bit overpriced, and so I have to walk away. Call me if you change your mind, and that's what I did, and I walked away, right? And I don't know, not even an hour later, he sent me a message from his GM saying, "Hey, we'll make the deal," right? And so that's the way to do it, right? And if you've got to be prepared, you got to know the market, you got to know what's going on in that particular car market, because by the way, it's important for viewers to know that it's not just a car. Every car market is different. It really depends on the make and model of the car you're after. Some cars are still high demand for some cars out there. You really got to know what car you're after and how they're traded. I love this website. There's a bunch of websites you can look at. But like, I'm into some classic cars, and so I look at classic.com. Will tell you it's kind of like I hate to say this, but I'm in this business of housing where we look at valuations, and classic.com also does a pretty good job at looking at kind of the distribution of all the cars,
right? What other people have paid, and when they paid that amount.
Exactly. Right. What other people have paid. They have the description of the vehicles, right? Mileage, number of car owners, etc. So in the used car market, it's a really great place to get your information, I think, about what's going on, what's going on out there. And so do your research, and then based on your research, then go ahead and make your ask and be prepared to walk away.
Yeah.
That's my advice to people out there.
Well, I appreciate that. And there are a lot of people who, are very uncomfortable with negotiation. They're very uncomfortable. The idea of a big purchase really kind of freaks them out a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Especially in this environment, this economic environment where, interest rates are elevated. But that's precisely the reason why you have more bargaining. If you can't afford it, you have more bargaining power than you've had in a long time. And so, no, it's just like stocks, right? When people are running for the hills, that's when you go in. When people are selling, that's when you want to buy, right? And so it's the same thing, right? Right now, prices are soft. Although I got to say, used car prices have started to climb again a little bit. They're up roughly 5% on a year-over-year basis. And that's because they had been declining, right? All of 2023 and 2024, car prices were plunging, essentially. And so now they're coming back up a little bit from a very, very low point. But ultimately, you have more cars sitting on lots, especially on the higher end. The higher end the car, the more it's likely to sit in this environment.
Well, and I think that makes sense. I mean, it's, just sort of given, who's kind of powering the economy right now and who's just kind of clinging on. And I think that makes a lot of sense in that regard. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk through this with you. I hope this was helpful for the people who watch and listen to us. Let's call it good there. For Dr. Orphe Divounguy, this has been Chris Krug. Subscribe to Everyday Economics wherever great podcasts are hosted. And make sure you listen to Dr. O and me every week on the Center Square Radio Hour.